Hello, hello, welcome, please come in. It's time to start up a new series, and per the vote of my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members, that will be Final Fantasy Summoners only, which is very exciting. Summoners are a very fun and interesting class throughout the series. Although making a series of this class work in main numbered Final Fantasies is going to be a bit wonky later on, it thankfully is not in the first game of the series, Final Fantasy III, the game that introduced the idea of summon magic to the series. That being said, it does have one slight problem to go along with it, and that is you can't access Summoner, or more accurately, its weaker cousin, Evoker, until a decent ways into the game. Hard to say exactly how far, my estimate is probably about a third of the way through the game, maybe up to half. Hard to say. But regardless, for the early sections of the game, we're just gonna have to play casually. Because, to my knowledge, no mod exists to get access to classes earlier than they normally appear, and even if they did, Evokers can only equip rods, which are not great for damage, and summons are slightly longer ways off. So, in the background, I am speeding through the early sections of the game in a very normal casual playthrough sort of way. One quick thing I do need to do before getting access to the Evoker class, though, is making sure I have a good supply of equipable items for them, because as soon as I kill Kraken and get access to the water crystal jobs, I am stuck with only access to a moor, a town whose shops are not great. So, that done, I can kill Kraken, get access to the water crystal jobs, and undrown the world. This means I can finally make my entire party Evokers. I do prefer the Evoker design from the DS version. Oh well. I was also smart to stock up on mage equipment because this town doesn't sell any, which is a great start to my evocation journey. But don't worry, it actually gets a lot worse, because in addition to not selling any usable equipment, this town also, quite notably, does not sell any summons. Yeah, those are not accessible until I re-unlock the airship, which means I need to go through an entire dungeon and beat a boss. You may be shocked to learn that Evokers are not super well equipped for this. On one hand, I do at least have one Ice Rod and one Fire Rod, so one of my Evokers deals slightly more damage. On the other hand, that damage is still awful, and because I'm attacking with melee weapons, I need my party to be in the front row, which means they take more damage. And while Mage Armor isn't complete garbage, it is bad. Even random encounters to level up are actually kind of tricky. Some fights just aren't worth doing because I simply can't deal enough damage to make them work. Oh boy, is there any good news? Kind of. The next boss is Goldor, who is very resistant to magical attacks, so it's possible that even having summons would be of limited use in this fight. I'm also reasonably sure I beat this fight with Black Mages by just bashing his brains in, and Evokers probably have pretty equivalent stats, so once I get a bit of grinding in, maybe it won't be too bad. Okay, it's time. Let's see how this goes. Okay, my damage is actually not terrible. Like, it's not good at all, but I'm routinely dealing 50 to 100 damage, which is incredible. Equally good news, Goldor isn't actually that good at dealing damage. His magic doesn't usually hurt that much, probably because of the mage armor, and even his physical attacks are pretty weak. I also bought a lot of high potions and a moor, the only useful thing they sell. And those heal more than enough to keep me going, and there we go! Okay, I thought that would not work until I was a little bit higher level, but that was not that painful. Beating up Goldor unlocks the airship and means I can finally fly over to the town of Repleto. Here, they sell the first 5 summons in the game. Huzzah! Everything is different and better now. And I will explain the many ways in which it's better shortly. But first, it's over to the next town to buy a bunch of better equipment. Everything is coming up Evoker now. Anyway, when Evokers cast their spells, they have a 50% chance of using that summon's white magic effect or black magic effect. And 2 summons are particularly notable in this regard, which I will demonstrate right after I get shot down over Saronia, because I do need to do a little bit of fighting to get ready for the Garuda fight. Anyway, Titan's 2 effects are a pretty good attack against one target, and a pretty good attack against one target. Yeah, both of Titan's effects are single target damage effects. They are technically different, and one is slightly stronger than the other, but barely. The other useful summon is Ifrit, who can deal pretty good single target damage, or heal the entire party. With that in mind, you may be able to deduce my strategy against Garuda. Half my party cast Hyper, aka Titan, for consistent damage. Meanwhile, the other 2 characters cast Ifrit for a 50% chance to deal good damage, or heal my entire party. And that lets me take down Garuda at one of the earliest levels I've ever managed that. Who knew being able to deal good damage and heal the entire party were good things to be able to accomplish? If only another class could do both. Not you, Red Mage. You can't do either in this game. Nautilus airship acquired, and I can fly over to Doga's Manor. Then make myself so very tiny and head through the underground cave. At the end, Doga enchants my airship to fly underwater. Not sure why we had to come down here to do that, but whatever. Submarine acquired, and I have some side quests to do. The sunken cave under Triangle Island is first. There are a lot of treasures here that I want to pick up. I'm not actually sure how many of these are actually useful, but the diamond braces are something, and the experience from the fights here isn't too bad. Now it's time for the Temple of Time, and there are plenty of treasures here that I very much want. Most important are the 2 protect rings I can pick up in this side path. We love better armware. At the end of the dungeon is Noah's loot and no boss, so Otter shroom out and it's over to Une's shrine to wake her up. She can blast our way into the ancient ruins. Oh hey, the shops here actually have some exciting equipment for evokers. That's fun. We love shiny new equipment. A little bit more defense is always appreciated. I gotta say, been a while since I used an evoker in this game. They're pretty great. Completing the ancient ruins gives me the Invincible, the best airship, and it's time for one of the most tedious sections in the game, navigating the stupid mountain maze path. Did this need to be like this? This probably could have just been one section of mountain to hop over. Anyway, entering the next dungeon, the Cave of Shadows. Nothing here to really talk about. The treasure here is all Dark Knight themed, which doesn't matter at all to me, and it's next boss time. Hecatoncheir is a big strong boy, but not like that strong. I have evokers, 3 of which spam Titan for consistent damage, while the 4th spams Ifrit to either deal damage or heal the entire party. I can then set the game to auto battle, and that is the fight handled very easily. Yeah, evokers may be a bit strong in this game. You know, I always forget to go over to Falgabard. Is there anything here that is helpful to me? No, cool. Not surprising. Back to Doga's Manor, and it's time to face down Doga and Une. Doga is up first, same strategy as Hecatoncheir, just spam Titan and Ifrit. However, Doga actually deals a lot more damage, so I have to switch over more of my party to use Ifrit than I would prefer. On the plus side, I am also dealing very good damage. Doga drops, and no one in my party even dies. Then it's into Une, who is even easier. In theory, she can be more dangerous because she has a multi-target spell. But Ifrit heals the entire party, so that split damage is actually way easier to deal with. And I can already head into the final dungeons. The Ancient Maze is first on the list, and that starts a fight with Titan, not to be confused with the summon. Also Titan, weird. Anyway, this fight is the same as the last few. 2 characters spam Ifrit for healing, while the other 2 spam Titan for damage. And beating Titan has unlocked the Earth Crystal jobs, which includes, finally, Summoner. And unlike Evoker, who had inconsistent damage options, I mean, kind of inconsistent, Summoners are very simple. When you summon, deal big damage, which actually means, for the first time in one of these runs, I won't be switching my entire party to the upgrade class. My 4th character is actually going to stay an Evoker. At least for now, that healing via Ifrit is just too good and too consistent. Very strange. Anyway, now that I have Summoner, it's time to collect summons. Into the catacombs under Saronia, and it's time to face Odin. And this fight highlights the new power of my Summoners. They actually seem to be dealing about the same damage. That's probably because I need to get their job levels up, but that'll happen in time. And my final Evoker is doing a lot to carry the team through intermittent healing. Anyway, Odin acquired. Odin's default summoning is an instant death attack that often fails, so isn't super useful to me. But on an Evoker, it can trigger Reflect on the entire party, which is something. Reflect does only last 1 attack in this game, but still. Next, it's back to the floating continent to head into Lake Dor. This dungeon is full of consumable spell items, which we love. And at the end is Leviathan, who is weak to lightning attacks. And yeah, that Ramuh damage is quite good. Love that for me. And there we go. That's another summon in the bag. Leviathan is a stronger all-target magic attack, so it should be very useful. And the final side destination is Bahamut's lair for Bahamut. I'm probably not actually strong enough to do this fight, but let's see. Okay, so my damage is not good, it's not terrible, and Bahamut's damage is very high. Good news is I'm healing an average of 300 to 400 per turn with Ifrit. That's not enough, is it? No. Okay, that's about what I expected. Bahamut is a pretty tough fight, and summoners are not actually the best party to take him out by any stretch. Good news though, Bahamut's lair is actually a really good place to level up, especially when my summoners can full clear the screen with a single summon. So let's get some levels and come back to this. Okay, we're a bit stronger, a bit more HP. My damage is still pretty awful, even with Leviathan. I did give Odin to my Evoker. Reflect may be useless, but the slash attack Odin can do is actually my highest damaging move. If only I had more casts of it, and didn't need to be constantly healing. With levels gained though, this fight is more just tedious. My damage is bad, my healing on average is good enough, and I have simply too many casts of my spells to run out. There we go! Bahamut down, final summon acquired. And with that final side quest completed, it's time for the final dungeon, but properly this time. Ooh, Omnirod, nice. One big downside of all my new summons is I have pretty limited casts, both because I only have one copy of each summon and each character has a very small spell pool. But we persevere, and it's into the hidden land of Eureka. Ooh, ribbon. We love ribbons. The rest of the items here are completely worthless, but at the end we reach our true goal, this shop, which lets me purchase additional copies of all the summons I have unlocked. So now everyone gets access to the best summons. And the final sequence of fights in this game can be pretty rough, as I have covered pretty extensively in prior runs, so it's time to do a bit of grinding to get my HP, damage, and MP up to where I will ultimately need them to be. And now that I have achieved the levels I needed, it's time to climb the tower. Hello, dragon nonsense. Sure, I'll click through half the text in the game right before the final sequence of fights. Why not? I have nothing better to do. And hello, Xande. Xande usually sets the tone for how all the final fights are going to go, and... okay, my damage is really good. Bahamut, it turns out, is very strong. On the other hand, Xande is also dealing a lot of damage, and my poor little Evoker simply can't keep up. Oh, Xande's dead. Okay, that actually wasn't too bad. I mean, I was like one turn from a party wipe, but still. Alright, World of Darkness, and that means it's boss rush time. First on the list is Cerberus, because it is easiest of the bosses here and will unlock healing. Like Xande, my damage is very good with Bahamut, and my healing continues to be fine. Helped by the fact that Cerberus is not very strong either. There we go, Cerberus down, Crystal unlocked, and I can also start killing Xande clones, because I need 3 more ribbons for my party. Next boss on the list is the Two-Headed Dragon. This boss, quite annoyingly, has a physical attack that is often strong enough to one-shot anyone in the party. And while I do have a lot of Phoenix Downs, I do not have infinite Phoenix Downs. The only saving grace with this fight is that the Two-Headed Dragon has no multi-target attacks, so I don't need to worry about keeping my health up. I just need to yo-yo my party. And okay, that was annoying, but not difficult or particularly time-consuming. Another Xande clone, another ribbon, and next boss on the list is Echidna. Let's see if Reflect is useful in this fight. Odin doesn't use Reflect every time he's summoned, but when he doesn't, he hits with Slash, which is pretty strong. And yeah, the Reflect is probably worth it. It can't reflect all of Echidna's magic, but it does reflect Drain and Flare, making this fight a little bit easier. And third crystal completed. One more Xande clone for my final ribbon, and there are only 2 bosses to go. And the penultimate boss is Ahriman. I'll go ahead and cast Reflect, though now that I'm thinking about it, most of Ahriman's powerful spells can't be reflected. I mean, I guess Blizzaga can, and that's something. Beyond that, it's spam Bahamut for damage as usual, and hope Ifrit heals enough to keep me alive. Wow, I'm out of Bahamuts? I'll actually have to switch to Leviathan for 1 turn. Incredible. Alright, Cloud of Darkness. This fight really sucks for all the normal reasons. It uses Particle Beam 99% of the time, and loves to time those particle beams to be the most annoying. Like now. Let's try that again. I do have elixirs, a lot of elixirs, so between that and Ifrit, my healing should be fine. Elixirs also mean I can just spam Bahamut the entire fight, because I will in fact be fully restoring my MP a bunch, whether I need to or not. The problem is the turn order in FF3 is basically random. Like, it's not, but it also kind of is. And because of that, once a character goes down, they will stay down, because the chance of me managing to get off a Phoenix down and an elixir around spamming Particle Beam is basically 0. So my party slowly starts to be whittled down until only 1 brave little summoner remains. But 1 summoner is often all you need, and down goes the Cloud of Darkness. And that was Final Fantasy III, beaten with only summoners and evokers, and that was pretty fun. Obviously, I wish more of the game were playable with either class, but the sections I got were mostly fun. I knew summoners would do great with the damage they can deal, but I was really uncertain about evokers with their coin flip spell casting, but they did not disappoint. But I will have more to say about that in the summary video, out in a few weeks. I did want to shout out that I do have a Patreon, linked in the description. I spend a lot of time making these videos, so if you enjoyed the video, want to support the channel, and are financially stable enough to do so, that exists. No pressure though, this channel is free to enjoy for everyone, and will remain that way. For now, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. Hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.